Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the social club, Britton's social club. As a matter of fact, hope everyone's doing well this fine Sunday afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. Uh, just got back from church, and now I am hoping to relax for the rest of the day. Well, actually, I do have a podcast at around 6, so I'm probably going to be off before then. um, which I don't think I should be on here for super long. Um, Hello, Ida. How you doing? Glad to see you here. Um, Always nice to have you around. Um, yeah, I'm just hanging out. Again, I'm gonna be having podcasts around 6. I don't think I'll be on for that long. The longest I generally like to go on when I have a guest, anyway, is usually around 2.5 3 hours. It's about as long as I'll go. Which you might think, wow, that's a long time, Britton. And you'd be right, that is a long time. Um, but it is what it is. Hold on here. Let me just take a photo here. I think 5 or 6 hours. I can't do that. I'm sorry. I can't be like Raph, who can just go on for like 5 hours. I would just be absolutely exhausted. Uh, that would wipe me out. Hello, Tharnal. How you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. Uh, yes, I'm just hanging out. Jeez, social media is just exploding today. Anyway, um, heard my mom there. uh, oh well. Happy Orthodox Easter. Easter was last week on my end, so there you go. He is risen, I guess. That's what's often said, right? Not to sound flippant, of course. I once shared a link for always look on the bright side of life for Easter, and my mom got mad at me. I was like, "Geez, mom, I'm just playing." She's like, "Man, you take that off right now." It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. How you doing, John? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Uh, what were you playing? Well, what do you mean? What was I playing? Anyway, yeah. So, what's everyone reading? I like to ask that when I start these. I, for one, am still going through The Given Day, which might be. I love Dennis Lehane, but this is probably the most frustrating book I've read from him, because there's a lot of elements in this that's really good, and I really enjoy them. But there's also parts of it that I'm just really frustrated by. Mainly the fact that it's quite long. You can tell this is his chunkiest book, if I recall, and the plot kind of feels like it's spinning its wheels a bit. Um, but there's also like really great characters. I do like the characters and their interactions with each other. I think that's really strong. It's always strong in a Lehane novel. Um, but yeah, just But I do think it's kind of frustrating because it's kind of about that. I mentioned this, I think, last time I was on here, but it's kind of that story about the like privileged white dude who figures out how hard poor people have it and is all like, oh man, we should do something about it. And it's not really, reinventing that wheel. So that part's kind of frustrating. But yeah, it just feels really unfocused. I think that's really the issue I have with this book. It just feels really unfocused. I'm like, is it an undercover thing? Is it this political novel about these strikes, or is it what is it? Sounds like the Blade Self. Yeah, Blade Self kind of has that plot too, especially with Jazal. I'm also reading Gun Machine by Warren Ellis, which is a lot of fun. Very much that classic. This is my first actual novel I read from Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis wrote a couple novels before, that whole situation in 2020 happened where it turned out he was kind of a fuck boy back in the day and used his clout as a comic writer to get tail, which isn't nice, which isn't good, but not nearly as bad as some other things I've heard, even though there was a lot of hurt feelings in the game. I don't want to get into that today. My point being, I do like Gun Machine. It has that kind of Warren Ellis weirdness that people like about his work, or at least what I like about his work, while also being a pretty good crime thriller. I should be able to. I'm going to see if I can finish this tonight. So that's kind of the goal there. And I'm also still working my way through Super Gods by one Grant Morrison, which is really good. I actually just read the part where they critiqued Watchmen, and it was actually quite interesting. Because Watchmen is kind of viewed as this like holy text in the world of comic books, and Grant Morrison's like, well, I appreciate what they were doing, but I have some complaints here. And I will be starting. Well, I will be completing, but I will be starting my read / finishing up of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. So there you go, right there. Very much looking forward to them. I think that's an Alex Ross cover. I think so. There you go. That's what I'm reading at the moment. Yes, Ida. Hope you're enjoying that. I did think about adding Terra Ignota to some of the sci-fi books that I'm reading this year, but I don't know. It seems a little. I don't want to completely demolish my brain power this year, so we'll see. We'll see. But I actually am going to be reading a science fiction novel after finishing either The Gun Machine or The Given Day. Probably The Gun Machine first, because I'm about finished with it. That is The Star's My Destination by one Alfred Bester. Or if you're across the pond, it's just called it is Tiger if you're across the pond. I don't think it's Tiger anymore. I think that kind of went out of style. But I know some of the old school, like British guys still call it Tiger. Very influential science fiction novel. One I've wanted to read for a long time. I was going to read it back in 2020, but I got really depressed in 2020. So, and I basically just destroyed my desire to read anything particularly. But I did end up reading. I did read some, but again, won't get into that whole mess. But I didn't, and now I'm reading it now. So there you go. Only 6 years later, of course. Ida, I will politely tell you this, but you're just wrong. Just saw you going. I'm just kidding, by the way. If you don't like Abercrombie's books, it's fine. Like, it's not. Oh, Max here. How you doing? I like Tharnall's comment here. All Orthodox be like Christ is risen. I'd be like meat is back on the menu, boys. I like that. That's good. But yes, hello, Mac. How you doing? We're just arguing about Joe Abercrombie and talking about all the books that we're reading at the moment. or are going to start reading, at least in Hawkeye's case for me. Yeah, you like the Devils. I didn't really care for the Devils, honestly. I still kind of. Oh man. Okay. But yeah, I mean, Joe Abercrombie's style isn't for everyone. I mean, I'd say Raph has rather ambivalent opinions about Joe Abercrombie. So you're hardly alone on that. Also, my friend Jason didn't really like the Devils either, so it's kind of. I just felt like the Devils was kind of Abercrombie shooting below his weight. It's kind of like his version of the Boys, where it just kind of feels like he isn't trying that hard, and you're just kind of like, this sucks. Um, no, I mean it's like I always say, it's open invite, so if anyone wants to come in, they can. Um, if you mean like if Raph's coming in, I have no idea. I didn't tell him I was having this today, so I mean maybe he'll show up, but maybe not. I've so there you go. Oh yeah. Oh, there's Raph. Speak of the devil. There's Raph right there. I was just kind of like, well, I didn't send him the. I was, well, that's good. It's always a good thing. And Joe's here. How you doing, Joe? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Um, I funnily, I was actually talking about your books the other day because we had our conversation about Shadow of Hyperion, which by the way, you should check out. It's fantastic. Um the book is. The conversation we had was a lot of fun. We'll just say. Though we do spoil the whole thing. So I would recommend reading the book first and then going into it. But uh however you do that. So there you go. But yeah, I was telling somebody the other day that one of the things I like about Joe's series is that in this kind of conversation of more alternate superhero type books, like The Boys or Watchmen or Black Hammer. I like that, or Invincible for that matter. I find that Joe is one of those kind of rare creators who, well, he doesn't do comics. He just writes books, but he's kind of doing his own thing with the genre. He's not consciously attempting to comment on like Watchmen or like some other books definitely have. Which nothing wrong with that, but I appreciate that Joe isn't afraid to do his own thing. Even though there's definitely some, I don't want to say Watchmen. It's more like Miracle Manisms, like because uh, he really slaps down. I was actually talking with Grok about it the other day. Funnily enough, because sometimes uh I'll just kind of talk with Grok about stuff, and we were talking about like just some of the great moments from Shadow of Hyperion. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, damn it, why didn't I bring that up with Joe? I was just fucking yapping for like an hour, cracking bad jokes. What's wrong with me? I'm a terrible critic, but it is what it is. Oh, I know it's not a deconstruction. I'm just saying it's fun to see as like a as a like kind of alternate take on superheroes. It isn't like Marvel or DC. Also, my friend Shay finished up the Sandman. It kind of grew on him. It seems like 'cause he was kind of he was texting me how he was kind of having a hard time with the Sandman because he felt it was really dark. I didn't really um, which it kind of made me want to read the Sandman again because because he was telling me how like dark he felt it was, and I mean there are dark moments in the Sandman for sure, but like I don't think Gaiman would do anything like he was going like, oh, I think it's even darker than some of what Moore was doing, and I'm like, I don't agree. I think Alan Moore outclasses Gaiman in terms of like how graphic and dark it gets, but then again, Gaiman did do a 24-hour diner, so I mean that's a pretty fucked up story. But nonetheless, he did grow on him. He really liked the ending, so it wasn't all waste. Though he didn't really like the oh, what was it? He didn't like the cereal convention, which makes me really sad because I really love that. I really love that part of the story. Oh man, it's unfortunate. But yeah, no, Shay's a good guy, by the way. You should check out his channel. He's a good kid. I say he's a good kid. He's a couple years older than me, around the same age, so it's fine. Yeah, it's gonna take a while for me to reread Sandman because it's just kind of like funnily enough, it's kind of like with Warren Ellis. It's just like there's just so much like kind of weird emotions there. Um, that I'm just not comfortable with that at the moment. But but Shay telling me about reading the Sandman, I'm like, I kind of want to reread it again, see if I feel differently about how dark it is. I mean, it might be the darkest thing Gaiman's written, probably. I'd probably give that like Coraline or even I don't know if Ocean at the End of the Lane. Ocean at the End of the Lane gets pretty dark, but it's not like super dark. But I digress. Joe goes, just tell me when to read Planetary. Well, it's probably going to be around the beginning of May, so I'll text you. I'll send you a message on Instagram, or no, not Instagram, on Twitter, because that's where we mostly talk. But yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, seems like we got a whole gang here today, so I feel better after last time, because last time it's like, oh, 25 episodes, yay, and then barely anyone showed up. I was like, damn, this is sad, bro. Well, that's good. I mean, I don't know anything about the politics of your homeland, Mac, but that's nice. Now, if only America could get rid of Trump, that would be nice. He's like a cockroach at the moment. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Back to books these last 2 weeks. Oh yeah, I forgot. I read some of those John Steinbeck Arthurian legends. Oh yeah, I still need to read J.L. Odom. I am thinking maybe I'll see if I can read her this year, but I'm trying not to start too many series in terms of fantasy. The only exception I'm making to that is Jade City. I'm also continuing with Discworld because I'm liking Discworld. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Keep that in mind. I know you really like Lucifer. Kind of hesitant. I really don't know if there's a. I don't really know if there's anyone who could do the Sandman world better than Neil Gaiman and crew. Like I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. Very nice. So you've been busy, Mac. It sounds like. So Zach, or also Shay, really liked Paradise Lost. Very nice. That's a fantastic book. Or can you call that a book? I don't know. Uh oh, guys. Hold on a minute. We need no introduction here. We got ourselves a guest. You know him, you love him. Raph, how you doing, Raph?
Hey buddy, how you doing? Yeah, I saw you were streaming. I clicked into the stream right when you were saying like, I don't know if Raf's showing up, and I'm like, I, yes, I just
Here I
forgot about
am.
it.
Yeah.
I guess you summoned me. No, I'm all right. I'm just very, very tired, so no idea how long I'll stay because I went
Yeah, it's
to
okay. I wasn't
concerts.
planning to go too long today because I do have a stream in about 3 hours. So I
Oh,
mean,
nice. What are you streaming?
or well, not stream. It's a podcast. I'm gonna be talking with Michael K.
Cheers.
Vaughn. It'll be fun.
Oh,
Um.
no, that
Eh,
sounds fun. For your like hangout hour
yeah,
podcast or
yeah,
for
yeah.
neat. No,
Which?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Raph. I'll let you
No, it's all
finish your
good.
thought.
No. You finish yours. Mine was changing topics and stuff. So
Oh, I
let's
was just
stick with
gonna
yours.
say I did have something I wanted to do with you in the near future, but I'll
Okay,
DM
sure.
you about it. It's about a subject I think you'll have a lot of opinions on. Is what I'm getting at. So there you go.
Yeah. No. I went to see a band on Friday and stayed at a friend's place, crashed on his couch, and then went to another concert yesterday, and then took trains throughout the night. Like one at like 3 in the morning from Stuttgart to Frankfurt, and arrived at like 7:30 this morning back in Marburg where I live. So very little sleep happening in the last 2 days. But reading, so that's good.
Max says I think you would like Odom. I think I would too. She sounds like someone I would like. I just haven't picked up any of her books yet. I definitely want to, so I'm not against it. But anyway, so what have you been reading, Raph?
Well, I did read The Story of Capital by David Harvey, which came out last week and is his newest book on, well, Marx mostly. It's a very good introduction to Marxist economic theory. But it's dense. It's like 600 pages, and you'll learn a lot about the declining rate of profit and the rise of the mass versus profit and stuff like that. So, serious economic theory.
Sounds riveting. Sounds like riveting stuff, I imagine.
Well, I mean, it is important to know these kind of things, and there is this thing that Harvey quotes someone else talking about Marxism in that a lot of people in America don't read Marx because they know that Marxism is stupid, and that's why they don't read it, and that's why they don't know what it actually is about. And I think it's important to look at like economic theory, how Marx takes from people like David Ricardo, from people like Adam Smith and so forth, how that is influenced by other authors like, I don't know, say John Stuart Mill and so forth, because obviously all of these 19th century people are talking to each other and about each other. So having that historic perspective is really good. And then I reread the wonderful the Utopia of Rules um, by David Graeber, which is a collection of essays on bureaucracy and technology, and how cops are in fact just bureaucrats with guns.
You know, it's funny. I'm actually reading a cop novel right now,
Okay.
which kind of is playing with that a little bit. I've been hearing a little bit about this Artemis 2 thing. I don't know what that's all about, but I saw people talking about it on Twitter yesterday. I was kind of like, I don't know what this is.
I mean, I didn't pay much attention. It's like rocket go to moon, rocket come back, fine. Also, plumbing is difficult, and plumbing in fucking zero G is really difficult. Although it's fascinating to see that the person actually fixing the toilet on the rocket in space was the one woman on the ship. So, you know, gender division of labor is apparently still a thing in space. So that's neat to know.
Man, I can't even imagine taking a shit in space. Like that just sounds like a pain in the ass.
Quite literally. No, it is like zero G toilets are a very weird construction, because a lot of things that you might take for granted when going to the toilet, right, they require gravity to function, right? So it is weird.
Yeah, no. Hold on, I'm getting none of these fucking bracelets. Bracelets are.
Yeah. No, one of the interesting things that Graeber does in that book, like in the Utopia Rules, he also talks about science fiction and fantasy literature in it, which is neat. Gives some shout outs to Ursula K. Le Guin and to Robert E. Howard and J.R.R. Tolkien, so that's neat. Is that that the public image of the police is that they are out there solving crimes, and that is statistically only a very small part of what cops really do, because mostly what they do is enforce the rules of society. You know, they come by if someone complains because your music is too loud. They stop you when you're jaywalking. They're doing bureaucracy with guns, basically, and forcing you to do to adhere to rules. And obviously, it's important to see them as a function of that sort of like concept, because we often tend to overlook how much bureaucracy we have in our lives, and how that is often hidden behind sort of like other ideas of like how society works in a lot of ways. So yeah, good book. But then again, David Graeber is always good. Like even when I disagree with Graeber, I always am happy that I've read his argument, because he does actually put thought behind his points, and that's quite something.
Anyway, apparently Tharnell says it's Orthodox Easter today.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, that's weird. Is there much of a difference? He's like,
1 week. Between Orthodox and Catholic / Protestants, there is 1 week, and that's because of not doing one of the wonderful calendar shifts back in the somethings 1700s, I think. Might be missing that one. That's why the October Revolution, the Russian Revolution, was also weirdly not in October, or because Tsarist Russia still went under the old Julian calendar, and not the current one that we have. I think it was the shift from Julian.
Yeah, I always noticed that with like, I'll see like Vladimir Nabokov or like Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand has there's like OS, and it's another date from when she was.
Yeah. That's exactly the things like that we have that shift between, we had that switch in calendars, and different countries switched to the new calendar at different times. there's really weird shit going down with like what happens with those days that were basically when you switch the calendar. Are you losing days? What happens with those? I read a book about like a novel that was about those days that are basically non-existent. It's the kind of thing that postmodern authors get intrigued by. I just can't remember which author it was right now, but yeah. So that's why Orthodox Christmas and Orthodox Easter is 1 week after Catholic and Protestant Easter and so forth.
Oh, my cat just busted in here, so I'm just gonna go shut my door real quick. Oh, you know what my cat did the other day? She was walking around. She's always really obsessed with. She's really fixated with my microphone. She likes to rub on it. Well, she knocked it over the other day. I'm like, what are you doing?
Hey Joe, how you doing? I need to get to those wonderful books you sent me. I've just been, struggling with all kinds of stuff and heavily focused on that fucking AI video that will come out, I promise.
It's a good point, Joe. Yeah, but anyway. So yeah, my cat is just like, I don't know. She just loves my microphone for some reason. So,
Look, cats should have hobbies as well.
Oh, she's like, let go of me, you Creighton. It's not like dogs. Dogs will just rub all over you. Cats like, let go of me, you bitch.
Yeah. It's why I prefer dogs over cats. It's like I like to have a pet where I feel that I might be smarter than them, and with cats I don't necessarily have that feeling. Whereas with dogs, for once I can feel superior. that is a good feeling. I don't know. So what have you been reading, Britton? Because I jumped in a bit later.
Well, what I'm reading The Given Day by Dennis Lehane, which is a very frustrating book, but I am still liking it. I think you would like this one, Raph. It's about it's about labor unions and it has police in it, but it's about labor unions basically.
What's the title?
The Given Day. It's by Dennis Lehane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also reading Gun Machine by Warren Ellis, which is a very fun, very on brand for Warren Ellis cop novel. This one seemed a little more sane than what was his other one? I think it's called Crooked Little Vein. That one's more like Ellis being a freak. Super Gods by Grant Morrison, which is his kind of study of the superhero genre / kind of what's the term I'm looking for? Very hyperactive, kind of autobiography, and Hawkeye. I will be starting on Wednesday, so yeah, I'm gonna be busy. So I've been busy. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, Joe. Yes, I do sympathize with your narrator about the tooth situation. Mine's hopefully going to get fixed on Thursday. Is the hopefully last dentist appointment where they actually put in the new replacement thing, and then
very nice.
Yeah,
you know what's funny? My dad had a similar thing. He has I don't know. It's not like a fake tooth, but it's like I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of getting wobbly. So yeah, they have to. So yeah, our dentist has to take it out and put a new one in. So that sucks.
Yeah, well,
it made me think of you. I was like, oh man, But yeah, no, it's. I imagine it's a lot of money, Raph, because you're doing that whole I mean, I don't know what you do for work though, Raph.
I do nothing.
You do nothing. Yes.
No, I recently made a video about it. Where I am unemployed, and the job center in their assessment basically said that the chances of integrating me into the labor market are unlikely to impossible. And I'm like, yeah, well, thanks, guys. I guess. They told me to do more independent stuff, so I guess I need to make more YouTube videos and possibly, more successful YouTube videos and get really rich off YouTube, I guess. Start, I don't know, get a deal with Amazon and do like a weird, shitty gaming show and call it RAF Games or something.
RAF Games.
We'll see.
Yeah. I can just hear you now going like, "Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Raph
Yeah.
doing World of Warcraft stream.
Yeah.
Do some Skyrim.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends."
Are they still doing sponsorships at this
I have
point?
no idea. I just remember
I mean, there was like a time where like basically everyone did weird Raid Shadow Legends, which is an interesting thing. Do you know who owns Raid Shadow Legends?
I do not know who owns Raid Shadow Legends.
Well, it's a gambling company, of course.
Oh,
that also has stakes in numerous Las Vegas establishments, casinos, and stuff like that. Which is, of course, makes sense for like a mobile game that kind of wants you to spend more and more money on like drafts and shit. Basically gambling, how a lot of like technically free to play video games with loot boxes are just gambling with extra steps at this point. So it makes sense that the gambling industry is heavily invested in stuff like that. I'm sorry to say, Thornall, we are not going to go towards the Jetsons. We might get to stupid Skynet. AI is stupid and will remain stupid. The thing with like the war crime stuff, however, is that you don't need to be smart to bomb schools, as we have seen, and ChatGPT and Claude will not actually replace most skilled labor, but they can definitely replace the work of war criminals because they can bomb children with the best of them. So that's nice, I guess. Luckily, Sam Altman has in the past advocated heavily for a UBI because obviously AI will put everyone out of their job. So we need to redistribute the wealth made with artificial intelligence to the people that are put out of jobs. That's Sam Altman's idea. I guess that means social safety nets for war criminals now. But, no, AI is just really, really stupid in most things. It seems to work somewhat decently in parts of coding if you have someone who is still like a very good programmer and can actually double check the stuff that it is doing. But for anything else, yeah, we're not getting super intelligent machines. We're getting really stupid machines. But since the people who are building really stupid machines are even more stupid, they don't notice or they don't care. Both seems to be currently the case. Yeah, Joe, I do see that. Like a pet pig would be dangerous. Those are really smart.
Yeah, when they're not rolling around in mud and having a good time. Then again, they did take over animal form. No, I was talking with some friends of mine yesterday about recent comments that Andy Weir made, and I was just kind of like, I don't remember if we talked about this last time. I don't think so because we didn't really have a show last week because Easter, but he's kind of talking about how there's no politics in this fiction. I was just like, that doesn't really make any sense. I don't know. But I don't really want to get into that conversation. But it's just kind of it was kind of weird, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not looked too much into that one. It's like, I don't know, so much going on.
Oh my god. Okay.
What happened?
Oh, just reading some of these comments. It's like, that's not fucking. Oh my god. Okay. No. don't want to get in the conversation. Why'd you bring it? You know, that's a good point. I did want to bring it up because I wanted to hear Raph's opinions on it, because I'm sure Raph has heard about this, but you know.
Like, what's the details there?
Well, how do I explain this? Well, he basically, like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna see if I can find the quote. I actually watched. I don't know if anyone knows what. I think it's called Jessie Gender.
Oh yeah. Oh, her video on Andy Weir being with a fucking critical drinker. I've seen that video.
Yeah. It was pretty good. I actually just watched it for the first time.
The main thing is Andy Weir seems to be incredibly oblivious and stupid. He may be a somewhat right-wing kind of asshole. I don't know that, but he's certainly incredibly oblivious. Like he's the poster child.
Yes,
he's the poster child of like male white cis privilege. Like he's like, no, my books are absolutely not political. It's like, there's not even a message in my books. I'm like, you fucking piece of shit. How can you write books and claim that? Like, you must be the most brainless oaf on the fucking planet at this point. But yeah, like I've seen video clips of him. Like he seems to be incredibly stupid, just like fundamentally uninterested in anything, and with a very, very, very limited horizon, I guess. That's my most charitable reading of Andy Weir. Everything beyond that would be, yeah, he's actually happy to align himself with a right-wing, anti-progressive, and fundamentally dangerous ideologies that are all about, discrimination, and that certainly would be bad.
I like how Joe puts it. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of brings me back to for one thing, I can understand what he's getting at, you know, because I don't always like being preached at either. But at the same time, I think there are good fictional stories where the social messaging is not subtle at all, and it's still really good.
Yeah, of course.
Like, for instance, and, you know, forgive me because this has something to do with the conversation about Andy Weir, but Star Trek, I wouldn't say is particularly subtle at points about what it's talking about. Not at all. Still fun, still good. And there were people kind of roasting him on. There were people roasting him on Twitter, going like, "Dude, you weren't paying attention to like what Star Trek was all about." I'm like, yeah, you know, like.
I mean, that's like one of those really fascinating things. I got really upset like last year, or maybe already 2 years ago, when Bookborn made a video about like how she read like recent, Hugo winners and how they're all, way too political, and and I just looked at like the first couple of Hugo winners, fucking Starship Troopers won one of the first Hugos. And you're complaining about books being too political. I don't know. Sci-fi has always been political, and Starship Troopers, or afterwards Moon is a Harsh Mistress, are not exactly subtle in their messaging either. It's like,
I mean, I'll put it this way: when Andy Weir said like, I don't want to see the whole political stuff with the Romulans and yada yada, bad paraphrase, but it's like saying I don't want to be preached at in a crime novel. You know, I want to see like tough guys smoke cigars and beat up other guys. Like that just doesn't make sense. It's just nonsensical.
Yeah, like if like as I said, like he seems to be fundamentally incurious. Like he doesn't want to think about stuff, and going like, I don't see this in Star Trek. I'm like, yeah, well, have you ever watched fucking Star Trek? And that's interesting in that regard. Is something I've said it so many times. Jordan Carroll wrote a book last year, won a Hugo Award actually, talking about that. And that is the speculative whiteness, science fiction, and the alt-right. And he talks about how people read, especially science fiction, with like very specific sort of understandings before coming to science fiction, and can get out of those books with like messages that are, or like presumably messages that are really, really strange. Like, people reading Dune and thinking that, yeah, Paul Atreides is actually the good guy. And like, even people who read on to say Dune Messiah can still go like, no, we totally have to do that. It's like, I don't know, man. Going like Dune is clearly a white savior story, and it has to be, and white saviors are cool. And like, you've read the book very much the wrong way. The same way that fucking Elon Musk claims to love the Culture series by Ian M. Banks, which is interesting because while yes, it has cool spaceships and cool artificial intelligences, but it's also a narco-socialist to the nth degree, right? Like it's very much about post-scarcity. Money doesn't exist. There's quotes about like how money is the sign of a of a failed society and stuff like that. Like it's very, very clear, and Elon Musk is able to read those books or claim that he has read those books, like and get like a very, very different message out of them, and that comes from having a specific filter before starting to read. And I think Andy Weir is the guy that has, well, a very blinkered filter when it comes to looking at stuff. He sees cool tech and goes like, oh nice, cool rockets, cool big guns, awesome. And I'm like, yeah, but there's more.
Yeah, I'll probably read Project Hail Mary. I do want to read it sometime this year. I thought the movie was going to come out in May, but it came out last month, and I'm just kind of, I'm just kind of thrown off now. So thanks, guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like I said, like for me, I feel like he has gotten away with being this incurious and so forth because he is. That was my point earlier. Because he is so fucking privileged. He has never had to encounter anything like any form of discrimination. So he can go like, yeah, this is. I like my stuff to be non-political, which means I like stuff to be the way that it is for me. And that means I don't have to think about it. And being political in a lot of ways is forcing people to think about stuff. And Andy Weir doesn't want to think. And that's that's bad if you're a writer, because technically your job as a writer is, to think and then put your thinking to work on paper. And
yeah, and I think that's kind of a problem I've noticed with Andy Weir's work, at least from what I've heard from people who even like it. He kind of has that one note kind of story that he tells, and I'm just like, I really like you don't want to try something different. I don't know.
I've never read any of his books.
Martian's pretty good.
So
it is kind of a throwback to those like Competent Man type of stories.
Yeah, you said that, and I do believe that. The thing is, I've read a bunch of those classics. I don't need to have one that has, I don't know, your post Joss Whedon snarky dialogue stuff thrown in, and that's like the only novelty. I don't need to read that. It doesn't interest me at all. And seeing Andy Weir say the things he says, I'm like, yeah, I guess there will be nothing in there beyond that, right? So why the fuck would I read that? I could read something else. I said, like, I just made a video about it. I read Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El-Mohtar. Now that's a really fascinating collection of stories. I mean, they're all somewhere on the internet, so you can't just read them for free, but it's a really good collection of poetry, both in English and Arabic, and short stories about identity, gender, cool fantasy shit, like really cool fantasy stories in there, like fascinating, cool imagination and everything. It's like, you can do really cool shit as a sci-fi author, or you can be Andy Weir and go like, hey, really smart dude on Mars doing really smart dude on Mars shit. And like, yeah, I don't know.
Which that's fair. I mean, I was gonna say if you're kind of annoyed with that, or if you've like read enough of them, you'll probably not really get too much out of it. But I thought it was fairly entertaining and one of the like better sci-fi novels the past maybe 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, the Martian Chronicles are the one book with the title Martian in it that you need to read.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah, because once again, Ray Bradbury had something to say. It's
Speaking
very
of-
much.
Speaking of science fiction, I did mention this earlier, but after I finish either Gun Machine or The Given Day, probably going to be Gun Machine because I'm thinking about finishing it tonight. I am going to be starting The Stars My Destination, or Tiger Tiger if you're from England. But I don't think it's called Tiger Tiger anymore. So anyway, the Alfred Bester book.
I like The Stars My Destination is a fascinating book. I still have to read the Demolished Man. That's the other one that I already own, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Stars My Destination, fascinating in a lot of ways. It's very
Really
sort of like
influential. Like a lot
existentialist.
of people really like
Yeah,
it, like Samuel Delaney and Neil Gaiman and John Harrison really likes it. Michael Moorcock and a lot of
yeah,
people.
yeah, because it does something really interesting in science fiction at that point. It is also very, very how can I say this? Uncompromising in a lot of ways, right? Like it's like the basic plot is a Gullyfoyle gets left behind in
It's a very
without
Philip K. Dickian name, by the way. Gully Foyle.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Alfred Bester and Philip K. Dick had conversations. No, so like he gets left behind with his spaceship that got attacked, I think, by pirates or whatever, right? Like, and he gets really pissed off about that. So his entire goal is to come back and, well, take revenge. And through that single-minded focus, he kind of becomes what you might call a Nietzschean Übermensch in a lot of ways. And the book just does sort of like play all of that out in a very uncompromising way to its final consequences. And that's just really cool. And that was at the time, I think, where and I think it was just like very early on. Obviously, a lot of other authors were working in a similar direction, sort of moving away from your what you might call your golden age, your Asimov and somewhat Heinlein at least. Definitely your Asimov
I
and
think Heinlein's
so
more
forth.
interesting than Asimov, personally.
Yeah,
Asimov's
yeah,
all about
I would agree. I think
Asimov's more like, look at where we could go in the future, rah, you know.
yeah, I mean,
Though I
I
do
think
love Me
that
Some I Robot. I do love at least the original book. I haven't read the other ones in that kind of
yeah, no,
saga.
no, no. I think like Asimov can be interesting, but Asimov certainly is. And I'm probably biased because of having read Astounding, which does obviously go into
I will be
all of
reading
those
Astounding
biographies.
sometime this year. I haven't gotten it yet. So
I'm sure you will really enjoy it. I mean, maybe not enjoy it, but you'll learn a lot. But
I'm sure. I'm sure I'll enjoy it because I love learning about the weird personalities of a lot of the science fiction writers. And some of them, I hate to say this, but some of them are actually more interesting than some of the stories they wrote. So I think
yeah,
so.
yeah, definitely. But I think like what you have is this shift away from Astounding magazine and its approach to science fiction, um, into what they then call like the new, not yet the new weird, but that 19th the more edgy sci-fi that happened in like the 70s, and Bester is just like someone who was very early on that, but there's parallels to Philip K. Dick, and there's parallels to some of the stuff that Ray Bradbury did, and so forth. So I very much understand why people are so fascinated by it. Also,
Yeah,
like
like
lots of
Robert
heavy metal bands
Heinlein,
have made
like
songs about it, so that's also neat.
that's he's just like, I think Heinlein's more interesting because you can kind of see him reinvent himself in
Several times, yes.
several, yeah, and Asimov never really did that. I don't think he was kind of more like a Carl Sagan type. It was like, oh, let's see how good this science stuff is. Though not as
Yeah,
much as Carl Sagan. I think Carl Sagan was a little better at that, but I didn't care for Contact personally. Thought it was a bit dry.
yeah. No, I think like for me, I feel like Asimov is a quintessential nerd. Like he is a quintessential nerd, and that is cool.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That is cool
Another
in a lot
another
of ways.
instance of the Russian dates. Couldn't even figure out his own birthday, so he decided it was January the 2nd.
Yeah. And like there are good Asimov stories. Don't get me wrong.
No, there
Um,
definitely are. I just find these rather one note after a while when you read his stuff.
yeah,
Kind of like Andy Weir in that sense.
yeah. I think like so what I feel is interesting, and that's partly the biography stuff. Right? Like Asimov was a scientist. He was apparently really good at his science job, right? Like, and
Oh, yeah,
so
he
he
was a
was in,
genius from all accounts.
he was, you know, so he seemed to be just like he was in a place where he was more or less it's like he knew what he was doing, right? Like he never questioned that. Whereas Heinlein, for all kinds of reasons, constantly struggled like with himself in a lot of ways, and that's where that reinventing stuff comes in, right? He was like a libertarian. He moved way further to the right at some point, but then you get something like Stranger in the Strange Land, which is much more like sort of like proto hippie adjacent stuff in a lot of ways.
And then he kind of went off the rails after that.
He went very much off the rails during the Cold War. He got like really into struggle into like angry arguments with Arthur C. Clarke about stuff, and got like very very chauvinist. And
You know, I hate to say this because I've heard some pretty unsavory things about
Clarke, yeah,
Clark as well. I don't know if they're true, but he seemed like the most normal. Like him and Asimov seemed like the most normal out of all. I mean, Clark was definitely eccentric for sure. I mean, you don't live in where the hell did he go? Sri Lanka? Wasn't that where he went?
I was somewhere in that area. It might have been Sri Lanka or somewhere around that area. But he was working there at like an observatory, so that there was another reason for going there. It wasn't just for sex crimes, is what I'm saying. It was science and sex crimes.
Oh well.
Which also kind of describes Isaac Asimov, unfortunately.
You know, I'm on the science fiction Facebook page, and Damian Walter, I don't. He's one of those guys. I respect his intellect and I respect his voice as a critic, but God, what an asshole! I've had a couple of interactions with him. He's just a jerk,
I
honestly.
don't know. I've always stayed away from his videos. I don't know.
Like the other day, like he was talking about how liberalism fell under itself and whatnot. And you might have opinions on this, Rev, but and he's like, "Oh yeah, slavery, liberalism allowed it to happen," and I'm just like, "Slavery ended under fucking liberalism. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you should clearly watch this video." I'm like, "Fuck you." So I didn't say that, but I was definitely thinking it. Yeah, he's just an asshole, honestly.
I mean, okay, like the thing with like liberalism and slavery is that yes, it did in fact obviously happen under liberalism for a long time, and you can find some really unsavory sort of like opinions on topics like slavery from various liberal thinkers. So he does have a bit of a point there, you know.
Yes, but it also ended under liberalism, though.
Yeah, it did both. but the point is, like, a lot of liberals did have to get pushed very far by abolitionists to understand that, like, slavery might be a bad thing, and then we obviously moved from that to something else. Interestingly enough, a lot of the techniques that are first used in that show up in like factories in the 19th century were techniques of management that were developed on mostly cotton and sugar plantations under slavery, and they were then used to manage poorly paid labor instead of slave labor, and those were then used by Charles Babbage to start working on the idea of automation and machines, like the book that Charles Babbage wrote, not just the difference engine and the analytical engine, but like the main book that he wrote that Karl Marx actually engages with is a book about factory automation, and that takes a lot of like labor management stuff from slavery. So arguably a lot of like concepts from slavery have remained with us in unfortunate ways, and that's beyond the whole like chain gang stuff after after Reconstruction, right? Like, the fact that slavery is still legal in the US for prisoners is is a thing.
Anyway, my point being,
Yeah.
and Damian Walter, fucking cock smoker. I don't like that guy.
Please, Joe, if you publish an anthology called Science and Sex Crimes, I'm definitely going to read that one.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good.
Possibly fantasy and sex crimes. like I mean, the point with Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov is that they both actively worked in science as well as writing, science fiction novels, but they all actively, did science work.
I just heard that Asimov was an ass grabber, like more than anything.
Very much that, and certainly, it's hard to do these things in hindsight, but you can tell from like people talking about it. It's like there's a lot of like social anxieties, inability to communicate, and awkwardness and so forth, combined with a world where, as a more or less famous man, you suddenly can get away with things that you probably never got around. So like there's a lot of like him just never figuring out how to actually interact with women, and that's always a bad thing. It's like,
yeah, it never goes somewhere good.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that's certainly part of Asimov, but at the end of the day, man's dead. I don't need to litigate that. There's worse people in sci-fi right now. Like, I think it's important to keep that in mind.
What always drives me crazy about these fucking situations that happen? It's like when people get like called out for like sex crimes or whatever the fuck. Like, oh, he grabbed some ass, or he asked a lady to suck his dick so she can like get a bump up in her career. It's like everybody fucking knows about this and they don't do anything. I'm just like, what are you doing? I've never understood that. I mean, I know there's like oh shit. I know there's like systems and whatnot that can kind of like, with the Harvey Weinstein situation. I've just never gotten that. Like, if everybody fucking knows it, like, why are you working with them? Why are you working with them still?
Because of systems of power, you don't necessarily have an alternative, right? That's the problem there. It's like that's why these things are structural. I think like what's interesting when it comes to the whole being sexually being at least a sexual harasser for Asimov, for me, is that when you read a lot of his books, he doesn't have a lot of like female characters in his books.
Is there ass grabbing in his books?
No. But you read Foundation, the first Foundation novel, well, collection of like short stories, doesn't have a single female character that gets to say something. There's like no dialogue lines for female characters in an entire book. That's something you only get in fucking The Hobbit otherwise, right? Like, it's really, 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 and I think that does, up to a point, sort of like combine with Asimov's general sort of like difficulty when it comes to relating to or accepting women, because there's a lot of like just lack of understanding or taking them seriously, I guess, in a lot of ways. I don't know, weird dude. But then so are most of those key people. I
mean, Alice Sheldon murdered her husband and then shot herself. I mean, that's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
And Philip K. Dick, I mean, we won't even get into that whole rabbit hole. That seems like a good book. That would be a good book on its own. We need a quality. I've heard there are Philip K. Dick biographies, but we need like a good one that really dives into the weirdness.
I mean, there is at least one chapter or long part on Philip K. Dick, so several chapters on Philip K. Dick in Eric Davis's High Weirdness. That also has like, it's like 3 parts. Like, one part is on Terence McKenna, one is on Robert Anton Wilson, and one is on Philip K. Dick. And I think Eric Davis is one of the people who did editing work on the exegesis of Philip K. Dick. So he knows his weirdness stuff for sure.
There's also, there's like L. Ron Hubbard, and that, again, that fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
that's another one I don't really want to get into, because it would just, even though I brought it up, it's another one I don't want to go too far into, because I'd just turn into a tirade about why I think Scientology is awful. And, I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
I think everyone will already agree with you. No, I mean, I did read Barefaced Messiah, and I do recommend it. It is certainly a fascinating book.
I mean, when your own son basically comes out and is like, "This dude's a fucking fraud," like, what are you guys doing? Like, you know, you fucked up especially badly.
L. Ron Hubbard, definitely a weird guy, but like, I mean, he gets like he gets like a large part in Astounding as well, obviously.
Oh,
Like,
that's what I've heard, and I'm looking
yeah.
forward to.
Interesting though. Um, when he was working on Dianetics before switching it, to Scientology, he messaged and he was in contact with Claude Shannon, the guy who invented kind of modern information theory, and is one of the key figures of artificial intelligence development, and Warren McCulloch, who invented together with Walter Pitts the McCulloch-Pitts model for a artificial neuron. So he was interested in AI, and two of the founding key figures of like artificial intelligence technology were in contact with fucking L. Ron Hubbard about Dianetics and thus, I guess, Scientology. Just one of those weird moments where I was researching the AI video, and as a fun thing on the side, reading Astounding, and suddenly I'm like, oh fuck, there's connections between all my interests. And that's where you end up with like paranoia.
Yeah, no, well, I don't really buy into the whole death of the author thing. So I think that's just a cop out. I find that the author's experience does pour into their work, even if subconsciously. I don't know if you can fully divorce yourself from the author. Though, I mean, if you want to go in the case of Shakespeare, where we don't know all that much about him aside from, biographical details, maybe you could, but
I mean, at the end
I
of the
personally
day,
don't think you can.
no, I agree. You don't necessarily can. I think in a lot of ways, it just is knowing stuff about an author's life and biography does add sort of like gives you additional resources when reading a text of like understanding that text, and that's just like something that a lot of people are interested in. It's like you don't have to know that Tolkien is Catholic, but once you do, you'll find out things about Lord of the Rings that you otherwise probably wouldn't figure out, and that's helpful. So yeah, an author's life can definitely matter and can definitely shape your reading experience, and isn't that good? I mean,
Now, do I think that Neil Gaiman's tendency to bang his kids' nannies got into his work? I mean, probably, but I mean,
I
Calliope
mean,
exists, so there you go.
I mean, I think it's more like how can I say this? This is- you read a lot of Neil Gaiman stuff, and there's always certain sort of like connections to you know darker aspects of sexuality and stuff like that. Like you read, I mean, you brought up Ocean at the End of the Lane earlier. It's like that's a creepy ass fucking book.
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah.
And there is once.
It's also apparently his most personal book from
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like his parents were avid Scientologists, and he grew up as in Scientology, and there was a lot of abuse there. So right, a lot of this stuff is also cyclical in a lot of ways, and if you never work through these kind of things, and you suddenly have a lot of power, then it's easy to it's easy to be an asshole once you are very powerful, right? And up to a point, I think it's easy to also sort of like lose sight of how much power you actually have, or sort of like once a level of like fame or power, or whatever it is there. I think it's a constant struggle to see other humans as well your equals, and once you lose that, it's very easy to abuse them, because you can, in fact, right? I think that's something that you find with Neil Gaiman in a lot of ways.
But
I
yeah,
don't know.
no, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, I don't. I've made some videos about it, or not some. I made a video talking about that situation, but I don't really think I need to add anything else that I didn't say in that video. So there you go.
Yeah. No. Okay. Uh, of course, Don, like creepy books can be very interesting. But that's like the other thing, right? Like, I mean, we said that in the past, right? It's like knowing that H.P. Lovecraft was a racist, xenophobic person does tell you something about the kind of stories he writes and where he sort of like takes his horror from. And a lot of it is horror of, well, of of brown people, and even more so of well, miscegenation, right? Like the only thing worse than brown people is brown people having sex with white people for H.P. Lovecraft. That's where he gets like really, really fucking scared, and that is something that is the basis for a lot of
I think
like
he was just
his
spooked
horror.
out by everything, honestly.
He was definitely, but like there's a lot of stories. Obviously, you know how Red Hook, definitely, but also the Call of Cthulhu, right? That whole
I was just
um
ranting about Lovecraft last week, so I don't want to rehash it again.
okay, sorry, I wasn't aware of that because I wasn't here
I know, I know.
last Sunday.
It's just like, God damn it. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
but like
I don't mind talking about Lovecraft. It's just like, God, I was just talking about this last week. It's funny we're bringing it up now. But yeah, no, you're right though. That's why I always felt that separating the art from the artist is that's just a stupid idea. I feel like that's a cop out.
Death of the author is a really good thing. I do appreciate death of the author. I don't think it means what most people assume it means. And separating art from artist is just something that is never fully possible. And what Joe said earlier in like one of the comments, right? Like it's like, what with the sort of like with social media and stuff like that, we all have to work much harder when it comes to separating the art from the art, the artist from the art, because separating artist from art means actively avoiding to know anything about an artist. That's like the main thing.
Man, you just said that without getting tongue tied. That's impressive, man.
What?
Separating art from the artist. You just said that a bunch of times without getting tongue
Yeah.
twisted. It's really impressive.
It comes from studying philosophy. You have to learn how to say stuff like phenomenology and shit like that.
Phenomenology. Jeez, that's a oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, I'm just saying I haven't read Clark Ashton Smith all that much, but I
It's
will
so good.
say I think Robert E. Howard's a better writer overall than better storyteller at least. Not quite as pompous.
There's like a layer of sort of like awareness and irony in Clark Ashton Smith that I really appreciate, that I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I got his Penguin book that ST Joshi did a few years ago.
Okay.
Which if ST Joshi is touching anything cosmic horror, it's probably going to be good. Even though I think ST Joshi is kind of an asshole. But you know,
The
again,
man has spent his
don't get too
entire
much.
fucking existence dealing with H.P. Lovecraft. At some point, it's going to drive you insane. It's like, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was talking with David over at Four Corners of the Page the other day, talking about Thomas Ligotti because he was really getting into Ligotti. I'll admit, I'm kind of afraid to read what is it? The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, because I was joking with him. I'm like, yeah, I'm almost kind of afraid that it's gonna be like a Lovecraftian like Necronomicon. It's gonna drive me insane with what it's talking about.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get myself one more beer. I assume we'll be here for like another half hour or so.
Probably, yeah.
Well, then I'm gonna do that.
Oh dang! I was gonna ask Raph about Thomas Ligotti if he read Thomas Ligotti, but we can wait for him to come back. But yeah, no, it's yeah, no, I don't. I think I have interacted with ST Joshi via emails. He was nice to me, but I just from some of his conduct, I think he's kind of an asshole, very argumentative. He's just a very argumentative person, which like that's not always a bad thing. But he's kind of like David Simon. very good at what he does, but kind of an asshole, really. Kind of just hard to deal with. And can also be really disingenuous at times. Especially when it comes to the flaws of the guy that he spent much of his career covering. So there you go. That's kind of the lowdown.
All right.
The Raph, you're back. No. Oh, I thought Raph had put on the mic. Raph, I was going to ask you if you've read Thomas Ligotti.
I have not yet. I've heard good things
curious
about
what you think of his like super pessimistic philosophy.
I don't know. As I said, like I haven't yet. It's on my radar. I know my flatmate has read some Ligotti and really liked him, which makes sense, knowing my flatmate.
Yeah, you know, I think Robert E. Howard's pretty funny. The ending of the Scarlet Citadel is fucking hilarious, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah, I would like to read more Clark Ashton Smith. So
I mean, he's closer, I think, in that regard to people like Jack Vance a lot of times. Also with the very, very over the top almost purple prose sometimes, which is played for humor as well. In you know, in that regard, I always like Clark Ashton Smith is sort of like that. Sort of like connection between your serious cosmic horror and sword and sorcery stuff like Howard and Lovecraft on the one hand, and then moving into somewhat more lighthearted and yes, more stylistically more varied stuff that people like Fritz Lieber and Jack Vance did afterwards. So it's like he's sort of like that connecting tissue between those two styles of old school fantasy science fiction stuff.
Oh, Daniel's here. Hello, Daniel. How you doing? Max says Victor Orban, I don't know how that's pronounced. I'm sorry if I butchered that, is formally out of power. Cheers.
That is a very good thing.
Well, it's better than what our president's doing at the moment. He's just going on rants on his Twitter page about Iran threatening to blow it up. And then everyone was acting like he was actually going to do something, and then he didn't. I'm like, have you guys not fucking learned this yet? That, okay, A, Trump usually is just all talk. B, when he actually does try to do something, he's really fucking incompetent at it. Just some of these people are not fucking serious. They're like, oh, he's going to blow up fucking Iran. And I'm just like, I don't. Oh, my dad. I thought my dad was talking to me. He was just talking about softball. Anyway, Trump's an idiot. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Trump's an idiot. And if he says he's going to do something, he's either going to do it and do it really badly, or he's going to pussy out and go like, you know, say some weird shit. I don't know. Say some fucking out of bounds stuff. Like, praise be to Allah on Easter. Like, what are you doing? Are you even fucking for real? You know, I hate to say this, guys. I actually laughed when I read that for the first time. I'm just like, are you fucking serious? Like, is this for real? You fucking thanked Allah. Allah's the Islamic God. What are you talking about?
I don't know if he knows. That's kind of part of the point.
I don't know. I've stopped trying to understand Trump at this point. He's like a void. Yeah, I know. Allah is just the Arabic word for God, but it's just like, what are you doing? Fucking president of the United States. You're not in a mosque. That sounded bad. I'm sorry. Please don't be offended. That I didn't mean to come out like that. But yeah, no, it's just.
No, I don't know. It's I mean, that's like the things like how, you know, how comically stupid and inept a lot of these people are, but because they have so much power, they still can cause an insane amount of damage, right? It's like, An idiot with a gun may be an idiot, but they still have a gun, and and that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm just. I mean, I generally think that the idea of Trump derangement syndrome is kind of like a thing that people use to dodge criticism. Um, a thought terminating cliche, as some people say. But I don't know, man. Sometimes there's people who are just fucking crazy. Like Steve Donahue, for instance. He I am telling you right now, you can go find one of his Irish stews where he literally said the only way to remove Trump at this point is to use nuclear weapons. I wish I were kidding. I'm not kidding. It's not hyperbole. I don't remember which Irish stew it was, but you can go find it. He said that straight faced. And I'm just like, he's lost his fucking mind. He's lost his goddamn mind. No, like
Yeah,
if someone used nukes against the United States, it would be fucking it would be fucking. It's the MDA, man. Or no, hold on, no, it's MAD, MAD. Usually assured destruction.
yeah.
And he also is like, oh, I don't even think like he got like that was even an assassination attempt. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's like his ear, his ear healed too quickly. I'm just like, so.
I mean, I don't watch Steve
It's
Donahue,
insane.
so I
It's
don't know about.
insane.
I don't
Some of
know
the
about
people who
that.
don't like Trump are fucking insane. As many people who like Trump are insane. So I mean,
Yeah.
and I've met both.
So Daniel, first of all, hey, hello, and yes, that's they did
I don't
like
know.
audio.
Maybe he has good doctors, but he's even gone like Barron Trump isn't even his son. I'm like, that is ridiculous. Like, they definitely look alike. But yeah, no, I don't know. Some of the people who don't like Trump are fucking insane. I don't like Trump either, but I'm not going to spread fucking conspiracy theories about him. That's what I'm getting at.
No,
Plus, I
I
think
know
he just
that
got
connection.
grazed in the ear. I don't think he got like shot or well, technically grazed means he got shot, but he did get grazed. I don't think he got like I don't think he actually got like seriously hurt. So if that's what you're saying, then okay, I'll agree with you on that. But now that he probably overplay what happened to him, oh, definitely for sure. Trump's been excellent at that his whole career.
Yeah.
Sorry, Raph, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. I was just saying that Daniel said that he has the collected fantasies of Clark Ashton Smith, Volume 5, The Last Hieroglyph. Yeah, that's the collection that got made into audiobooks as well. Was 5 volumes, so I have read that one. It's a weird mix of stuff because I think they collected them basically in publication order. So you have some fantasy in there, some sword and sorcery, some horror, some weird sci-fi. Clark Ashton Smith's sci-fi is really weird because it's old. Like it's mostly written in the 1920s. So spaceship technology is very different from where we are today. And he has this series of basically this one ship that is powered by atomics, whatever atomics means, in the 1920s. And their goal is to circumnavigate the universe, which, let's not think about the physics involved here. And then they go to weird
Okay, you know
clockwork
what?
planets and stuff.
Okay,
It's
you know
really
what?
weird.
Fine, Joe, but I'd rather see actual hard evidence rather than just conjecture. That's what I'm trying to get at. When you throw around statements like that, it's just like, okay, this is just getting ridiculous at this point. But anyway,
Like at the end of the day, it actually doesn't really matter that much, though, right?
not really.
In the grand scheme of things, that specific conspiracy, I don't know.
Now, if Trump did fake it, now if it turned out Trump did fake the assassination attempt, would I be surprised? Probably not. I would probably be surprised that actually happened and being like, but again, I don't know.
I'd be surprised if he came up with a plot like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was what happened, but I'd rather see hard evidence that than people going like, "Oh, look, his ear looks fine now." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. Maybe Mac's onto something here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not something I need to sort of like really to get. It's like we have very different things to clear to sort out right now.
Yeah, like starting a war with Iran. I'm just like, I'd rather not start a war with Iran. Like, yeah, I'd like to not start a war with Iran.
Yeah.
But
like it's like no, the previous presidents were all pussies for not doing this. Like, well, maybe they all had a good reason not to do that. You can't imagine that, I don't know, someone like fucking George W. Bush wouldn't have started a war with Iran if he thought he could get away with it, right? I mean,
oh yeah, it's funny you say that. It's I've seen trailers for that.
but yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I'm gonna be reading "The Stars My Destination" soon, which is where this weird diatribe started at.
Yeah, it's relatively short and short and sweet. I'm sure you will like it.
I hope so. It's
Yeah, I've always wanted to read that Mussolini biography. Right now,
I want
uh,
to read the Stalin biography, that kind of 3-volume one that came out a few years ago. Because I've always had a weird fascination with Joseph Stalin.
Stalin. Oh,
Yeah,
why not?
he's not a good guy. I should note he's not a good guy, but a very fascinating guy. Very fascinatingly evil guy.
What you need to keep in mind is that Joseph Stalin is, of course, a stage name, and if you translate that
That's true.
into English, it's basically Joey Steele, and suddenly he sounds like a porn actor.
Yeah. Well, he was. Well, he did like to bang a lot of chicks, so I guess that makes sense. That fits.
Could also be a wrestler. Could also be a wrestler stage name, though.
Yeah, just have Joseph Stalin come in. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna commit some genocide today," that type of thing.
I have not read by Blood by Old. I have not read that one. Max Garfield. I'm sorry. I don't even know if it exists in audio. I might be reading the Idan trilogy by Philip Chase next, though, when it comes to fiction, because now I have all three of those. So that's sort of what I'm looking at, and of course the new Quinn Slobodian Ben Tarnoff one, Muskism, A Guide for the Perplexed. Okay, it does exist in audio. That's a good thing.
Yes, it's written by a lady named J.L. Odom. I think she actually won Spiffbo. I'm really bad at paying attention to it because I just don't. I don't pay attention to award ceremonies unless there's a book I don't like that won one, and in that case, I can go like, "How the hell did this win an award?" But
okay, the second volume seems to be also out.
I don't know. It's just like when I see the collective of YouTube going like, "Oh man, this is great." I generally Though I do want to read JL Odom's stuff because I've interacted with her a few times, and she's a nice lady.
Yeah, I don't interact with people, so I don't know about any of that.
This is true. He did study to be a priest, and he's like, well, fuck this. And he became like a thug for Lenin, and then he's like, I'm gonna take over. Thank you, guys. Anyway, like I said, interesting guy. Evil guy, but interesting guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these people, when you look at a lot of like dictators and people like that, it's like a lot of them have like really wild lives. Like, try to read a biography of Saddam Hussein while you're at it. You'll learn some really weird things about him. Like that one time when he was expelled from school, so he took he got himself a gun and threatened like the principal of the school with a gun to get like, back into school.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, young Saddam had a bit of a passion for education, it seems.
And firearms too, from the south of it.
Oh, I mean that's more like growing up in Iraq in the 1930s or whenever, I guess. You don't have to have a passion for firearms. You just have the availability of firearms. No, he wrote like romance novels, which is still like one of the wilder things.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Napoleon. He wrote like a romance novella, apparently.
Well, I would argue that, like, actually, if you want to rule people, not killing them is part of it, because otherwise,
Oh yeah, I think I actually have that on my added to my my to read list on Goodreads, that book, right? Because that name sounds familiar. Hold on, let me look it up. But thank you, Mac. I'll definitely check. Yes, I do have it. So I will definitely read it because I feel like the Holodomor kind of gets overlooked in terms of genocides.
I don't think it gets overlooked. I mean,
I don't think it's as talked about as something like the Holocaust is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think it partly because it's less spectacular, right? I mean, the thing is, like, you have the concentration camps, you have the movies from the concentration camps when they were liberated and all of that stuff. Like, that shit is very difficult to erase from your brain, but like people just starving, even though it is, a manufactured famine, it still doesn't make for good, TV in the sense that the Holocaust does, I think. So there's partly that aspect. Plus, of course, talking about anything happening in both Russia and Ukraine and the Soviet Union has always been tainted by a lot of like weird Cold War preconceptions and stuff, where it's like, yeah, we don't know much about it, and we also really don't want to talk about it in like a nuanced way. And so everyone was like, well, the Holodomor does exist.
Much people died because of this. I don't know what's more nuanced. I don't know where the nuance comes from in that.
Well, I mean, ideally, you look at like why something like that happens, and whether the goal is, say, a genocide in the sense of like you want to explicitly eliminate one specific group of people, an ethnic group or whatever, or whether it's, talking about like, say, the whole famines in China when they try to use Lysenko ideas of how to do fucking agriculture. It's like, that's not a genocide. It's still a fucking massive famine with like millions of people dying that we don't even know how many and so forth, right? Like, so there has to be nuance that goes beyond, well, Stalin evil, right? The same way that there has to be nuance beyond like Hitler evil when it comes to fucking to the Holocaust.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And what with like, especially the US aspects of the Cold War, right? Like, for the longest time, the argument was just, well, Soviet evil, so it's like, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean with like nuance. It doesn't make the thing less evil at the end of the day, but it's important to understand the different types of evil to make sure that shit like that doesn't necessarily happen again. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, what's that line that my friend Alex is always telling me about from Malazan? I'm sure you would know what it is. About children dying.
Children are dying. The tragedy of the of the universe is in these 3 words.
Yeah, that. There you
That's
go.
that's a quote from Dead House Gates, or a paraphrase from Dead House Gates by Steven Erickson. Because Malazan does touch on those kind of topics.
Anyway, Mac, I definitely would like to read that book though, because again, I think the Holodomor kind of gets lost in the fold when we talk about mass murder.
Thornell, I think it's Duiker who says that to Lull, I think. Captain Lull. I think it's in one of their conversation, The Chain of Dogs. That's where the quote comes from. But I'm not 100% sure. Well, very different book, but I also highly recommend reading Red Plenty by Francis Spufford for another sort of like aspect of Soviet history stuff. It's a weird combination of nonfiction texts with sort of like vignettes or short stories in between, and it looks at the post-Stalin. It basically
What's it
looks
called?
at
Red what?
Red Plenty. And it's
Wait, who's it by? Is it Francis
Spufford, the guy who wrote Cahokia Jazz and None Such and a couple of other books.
Oh, I seem to already have that. Good God, what don't I? My friends are right. What don't I have added on my Goodreads?
Yeah. Basically, he looks at like the whole like Khrushchev era and basically starting over and trying to do the thing that communism had promised, and looks at like why it failed and how you then end up with like fucking Brezhnev and the whole mess that is the post-Khrushchev Soviet Union in a lot of ways. I really appreciated it because we often sort of like overlook that, and we have a very specific sort of like image of Khrushchev from the whole like United Nations things.
He was a snake, but he wasn't as bad as Stalin, which is probably the best. Which isn't really saying much because I mean,
the snake part, I guess, is difficult to say. It's like it's more about the idea that once Stalin was gone, that you had this sort of like brief era where basically
he let it happen, and then he basically was like, "Oh, I condemn what Stalin did." I'm like, "You were a part of it." So yeah, that's pretty snaky to me. But
well, I mean, everyone who was still alive at that point and had to be part of that, because otherwise he wouldn't have survived until that. So what you gonna do? It's like,
I still think he has moral responsibility, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but that's politics for you. Now, my point is more that with Stalin
it's like
gone,
that line from It's Always Sunny. That's politics, bitch.
No, like but the point is more that with Stalin gone, you had this brief moment where people were trying to like, all right, now that the bad thing is done and World War II is over and Stalinism is over, let's actually do the things that we were trying to do. Build a workers' paradise, make shit happen, basically, and how that sort of like optimism kind of failed.
Oh man. Oh, sorry. The new Alan Moore Long London series book is coming out in May.
Oh, yeah, right. That's coming out this month, right?
Next month, I think. I'll have to look. Anyway, we are not downplaying Stalin. As a matter of fact, like Most fellow communists don't downplay what Stalin did. They're more trying to argue on why what Stalin was doing wasn't actual communism, which doesn't make any sense because what Stalin like. I won't get into. I won't get too much into that because I don't want to argue with Raph today.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other question.
Because Raph is
Something I
probably
found.
more sympathetic to those arguments than I am. Because I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I am definitely more sympathetic to those arguments because no, what Stalin was doing was not actual communism. It's kind of the point. But no, what's
I said I'm not getting into it.
Stalinism definitely
it.
yeah. But I do agree. Stalinism not the best way of running a country.
Yeah, they have a word called tankies for it. So I mean, so it's not like they're acting like it didn't happen to their credit.
But that is another aspect of Stalinism because that is apparently a successful way of running other people's countries.
I have not read the Long Price Quartet, though I do want to because I've heard it's pretty good and it seems like a type of fantasy I would like. So,
Thornall, now I think like Cotillion has a similar scene, but I think that's at the beginning of either. It might be the prologue to the Crippled God, where he has this like scene where he goes like, I will not apologize anymore, and I will not compromise anymore because of the suffering and shit. Like that's a different scene. The children are dying line is, I think it's Diker and Lull in Dead House Gates.
Raph, have you read any of the Long Price Quartet? Do they even have those
I
in
have
audiobook?
not. They do have them in audio. I just haven't read them.
They're hard to find, actually. To be honest with you, they're kind of hard to find.
Well, they're available in audio, for sure.
That's good.
Speaking of the next Captives War book is also coming out like next week or something like that, right?
Which one?
That's the James S.A. Corey thing that Daniel Abraham is writing together with Ty Frank. The Expanse guys.
About that. I don't know anything about that.
Well, it's the Expanse guys, just their new sci-fi series.
Well, I know who they are. I know what the Expanse is. I just haven't read anything, and honestly, I don't really want to. It's like Wheel of Time. Like I don't really want to read it.
I would argue that the Expanse is definitely a quicker, faster, and more entertaining read than the Wheel of Time. It's also less books.
John, John, you will love The Given Day. With you saying that, I think The Given Day, you'll dig it because there's a whole sequence where the main character Danny is going undercover in like socialist groups, and he just gets annoyed because all they do all day is bitch. They don't do anything. He's just like, they get together, they drink, and they complain. They're not doing anything particularly dangerous because he's trying to see if they're gonna like bomb shit. It's pretty funny.
No, but like the Expanse is fine. I personally think the ending kind of sucked. There's a underlying message that I struggle with. Also, it doesn't have enough Miller, but that's just me. Miller is basically Sam Vimes in that regard. Sam Vimes in space.
Tell me no more, sir. Say no more. Speaking of that,
but still, like the early alcoholic Sam Vimes.
Which, speaking of, I am trying to find I'm trying to find at least either Feet of Clay, or I'll just say fuck it and get Color of Magic. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I am hoping to at least do a Discworld book in May, so we can reconvene the Discworld files again. Yay!
Sure.
So, yeah.
What I also read last week, really good book, Buddha's Wagon by Mike Davis, A Brief History of the Car Bomb.
Wait a minute, Mike Davis sounds familiar. Isn't he the guy who wrote the thing about? Didn't he write about L.A.? Isn't that the same Mike Davis who wrote about L.A., Los Angeles?
That's the same Mike Davis, yes.
Okay, I know him because he has a massive beef with James Ellroy, and it's hilarious. And also he wrote like a Los Angeles thing from like a Marxist perspective. So
yeah. Yeah, and he wrote a history of the car bomb, which is a really interesting book to read. Or the poor man's Air Force, as he calls it.
Oh boy.
None of them. He does make a good point there, where it's like, well, car bombs, because anyone can build one, um, but you can wreak the kind of havoc and destruction that usually only armies, like militaries with actual air forces, can do, because yeah, and you get like a really big explosion and lots of destruction and terror and so forth with a mobile weapon, in a way that is affordable for all kinds of groups, uh, in a way that you usually only get with like actual airplanes and stuff. So he does have a point there.
You know what I've noticed? I've noticed a lot of people who are influential in history are not very nice people, which is probably not a
That's a
profound
feature, not a.
observation, but it's just something it's been hammered home to me recently.
The point is, like, if you are, if you make a lot of like impact on history, you have to be a bit of an asshole, because pleasant people don't start doing those kind of things that get written down, which is probably more a question of like how we write history. you know.
Oh, they're still talking about Expanse. Yeah, no, I don't know. I've been wary of it because it seems kind of like that popcorn sci-fi, where it's just kind of like, oh, look how cool this technology is. Very Andy Weir stuff. And I like science fiction that kind of is more cerebral. Take care, Mac. Thank you for showing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Take care, Mac. No, I think it's The Expanse is not that bad. It is popcorny for sure. It does certainly have cool ideas. It certainly has, and I think AP Canavan had a conversation. I had like a video on that like a while ago. It's like how The Expanse has sort of like shaped science fiction in a lot of ways. Obviously, because it was successful as a TV show as well. But what The Expanse does in this regard, like to sort of like hard sci-fi, is that they very clearly, like every single time, talk about like if you are traveling by a spaceship somewhere, that you have to do that flip and then like burn to break down, because obviously to break, because obviously you are in space, and just because you stop using your spaceship motor doesn't mean you suddenly stop. No, you just like keep going at the same rate. So you need to sort of like at the middle of like your journey, you need to flip around your spaceship and then start doing that descent burn to break down, basically. And that's something that comes up a lot in The Expanse, and that has sort of like become fundamentally accepted that, like, yeah, this is how space travel works, for sci-fi shows and readers since then. So that's cool that they added sort of like that sort of like element to the vocabulary of science fiction in that regard. Not that, like, actual people who thought about space travel and science did always know that, but it wasn't really brought up in a lot of sci-fi, I think, is what I'm trying to say here. So that was cool. Also, alcoholic space cop with anger management issues.
Yeah, I still need to see Babylon 5.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Babylon 5 did everything. Like, Babylon 5 is an insanely good show for the time it was made, and everything's like the level of storytelling it's absolutely fantastic. And then no one watched it because it did so many things at the same time. It was like, well, but where's the Klingons?
Oh man. Oh man, that's funny. I think they actually have an alien in that's named after the guy who wrote Stars My Destination, called like Besters, I think. I could be wrong.
Could be.
Yes, I'm looking forward to Stars My Destination. I'm it's one of my most anticipated books of the year. So, there you go.
Yes, Babylon 5 is probably the best sci-fi show for TV. ever made, which is kind of part of the problems. Like, I think it was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. Also, where you have like levels of sort of like the whole like horizontal storytelling and stuff like that, in a sense that you see with obviously something like Star Trek taking that kind of stuff for Deep Space Nine, and I think Deep Space Nine was after Babylon
I
5
love Deep
started.
Space Nine.
Yeah, of course.
It's my favorite Star Trek anyway, because it's like, oh look, this Star Trek world is actually like a universe where like conflicts still happen, even though we're in that kind of 60s progressive wet dream world, basically. I'm like, oh, that's nice. We get to see where, and also the Ferengi are fun, even though I find them quite vexing at times.
Very anti-Semitic stereotypes, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Forgot about that.
What's interesting about the whole Star Trek thing and like it being a utopia that David Graeber brings up in the Utopia of Rules that I just reread is that there is no politics in Star Trek.
Oh God.
No. Hear me out. In the sense that there is no politics happening within the Star Trek world. You don't know how the Federation is run.
Okay.
There are no
I'd
elections.
agree with you.
There are no elections. There's just experts, which is, as I said, like the Utopia of Rules is a book about bureaucracy and how bureaucracy replaces democracy. Like,
that's where I think Deep Space Nine really shines.
Yeah,
they really get into that. So, does he talk about that in that book, or is he just kind of blanket like, oh, Star Trek's kind of?
He doesn't talk about Deep Space Nine. He mostly focuses on, in that specific aspect, on the first, on the original series and on Next Generation.
Oh, okay. So, the famous ones. I see.
Yeah, because he's trying to make a larger point on like how sort of like ideas of bureaucracies and experts and have replaced democracy even in very clearly progressive sort of like cultural products, I guess, and that's his larger point. And I think that one definitely stands. Like, well, we don't know how the Federation is run. Is it a bureaucracy? Yes. Is anyone ever campaigning to become elected president of the Federation? We don't know. There's no official statement on that anywhere. It's like, well, not at the time. It's like, isn't that interesting? That in a perfect future there will be no democracy.
Yes, and also scarcity is just going to go away. Why? Because I guess so. Just that's just how it's going to happen. I've heard that the Ian Banks books kind of play with that too.
The Ian and Banks books play with a lot of really interesting
books,
stuff.
I mean,
the culture books are really good. Like, I do highly recommend them. I think they're really incredibly good in a lot of ways because Banks does sort of like head on sort of like tackle that question of like, so if we have the perfect future and everyone has everything, right? Like, so how do humans find meaning in that kind of world, right? Like,
so is he kind of trying to? So is he kind of commenting on like that Star Trek kind of world?
Partly, yes. Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. Also lots of other stuff, like, but there is definitely something there, this idea of like in a post-scarcity world. Like, obviously we don't need economics in the same way that we have them right now, because if you can just produce whatever you want without if there's no scarcity, you don't need markets, you don't need to pay for stuff, you don't need currency, you don't need any of those kind of things, because you can just like, same way as in Star Trek, you can just like go and tell your machine to make you something, right? That's built in. So all of that falls flat. It's like, so what do people do and why do people do stuff? And he comes up with like several answers, basically. A lot of the books are always about basically this question. So what do people do now? And some of those answers are weird, and some of them are really gross, and some of them are really cool. And a lot of it is also about so if you are this all-powerful civilization or collection of civilizations, how do you, in fact, the whole prime directive things. Like, so, do you have a responsibility to intervene? And if not, what else do you do? That kind of stuff. He does play a lot with that as well. So it's very, very conscious of Star Trek in that regard.
Interesting.
Also, just really cool and weird.
Because that's one of
Weird
the things that
drones.
I've always kind of gotten irritated at Star Trek about, aside from the whole, oh, we'll outgrow religion, which that's a whole other thing I don't want to start ranting about. But yeah, it's like, how does this world work? Because if you don't have scarcity or money or whatever, like, how are you going to function as a society?
Yeah, as like
Does banks go into that?
Banks does yes, Banks goes into a lot of like different aspects of it. Really, it's like how societies work or don't work, and how a lot of it is about like making meaning for yourself and coming up with projects for yourself and going like, no, if I can do whatever the fuck I want to become I want to become an architect and develop space habitats. So I'm gonna design continents and shit. It's like,
Hello, Ori. How you doing?
hey Ori.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
The answer is sometimes war. Yes, Thornall.
Yeah, the world building on Trek can be kind of suspect from sometimes. Sometimes, I think. It's not quite as it's not quite as egregiously like bad like a Harry Potter, for instance. But then again, I'm kind of a nerd about world building stuff, so might not compute for everybody.
Mm.
Some people are like Andy Weir. It's like, oh, I like the sci-fi space stuff where they're shooting at each other. That's fine, but I don't know.
Nothing wrong with space, with sci-fi space stuff, as such.
It's funny. I was talking to Joe a while back, and he's like, sometimes I write stuff just because I see things in like a movie or a show or whatever I'm reading. I'll just get annoyed and I'll start writing. I'll just start writing what I would have done.
I mean, to be
And then he
fair,
went on a rant about Lost. It was great. It was great.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like frustration is or frustration and anger can be great motivators to do stuff, because you're like, no, why doesn't this thing exist, or why is everyone so wrong about this thing? I need to change that. That's I mean, that's what motivates me with like a lot of videos where I'm like, no, you know, y'all are talking about AI the wrong way, motherfuckers. I guess I need to explain this.
Yeah, it's like how I went on a rant about AI yesterday because it's funny. They were actually the friends I was hanging out with were like, "Oh, what does Raph think about it?" I'm like, "Well, he did make a video briefly talking about it for like an hour and a half." So there you go.
No, I think I have complicated thoughts on AI. Like, some of it is really good. Most of it is really stupid because it's done by stupid people for the stupidest reasons ever. And that's part of the problem with the videos. Yeah, explain the technology. Also explain how, venture funding, venture capital funding is not the best way of actually driving, innovations, maybe.
That's a good point. They might need like a Bible where they need to sit down and talk about the. I don't know. I'm like I'm just kind of a world building nerd sometimes where I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, and it doesn't need to be explained to me. Like, I'm not like one of those guys who likes like a Wheel of Time like info dump on how the world works. I don't need that. I don't like that. I think that detracts from the narrative. But if you give me an idea on how it works, like okay, there you go. That's fine. And then like Star Trek, they never really never really go into that, and it kind of annoys me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think like production for television is like different from writing books in that regard, because you have like a different form of presentation, right? Like you don't need to explain these things; you just show stuff, and people assume things from that. So a lot of like Star Trek stuff in particular kind of gets retrofitted afterwards through fan fiction that then gets reincorporated in later versions of like the larger franchise and stuff like that. And that's just like part of like how you develop those sort of like worlds. It's like
With
it's fine to have stuff and go like, well, I'll make it up when I need it.
Well, okay, I'm not okay. I'm not saying that if they have toilets, I assume they would have toilets, but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, do we need to know if the Millennium Falcon has a toilet? No, we don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. For instance, that's Star Wars, though. That's not Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you will see, Ori, is that there might be a connection between the fact that all the people building spaceships right now grew up on Star Trek, that has very little imagery of toilets in spaceships, and the toilet on fucking Artemis not working because they didn't pay attention to the toilet because they only watched Star Trek and didn't think that they needed one that functions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like take something like China Mieville's like Baz Leg. Like there's a government in that world that makes sense. At least in Perdido Street Station, and even
Yeah,
the
but
Scar too.
yeah, but that's because China Mieville personally cares about politics and how governments function and shit like that. He's interested in that. Star Trek isn't interested in that. It does something different. Like, so I get Ori's
Well, unless
point.
it's Deep Space Nine, then it does become interested in that.
Yeah, of course. But then that's the
But you're
point
right.
where like
They are pulp adventures, like the original show, anyway. Like they're pulp.
yeah, and they're like
And that's fine.
they're aspirational adventures too, right? That's the goal of like original Star Trek. Is like, hey, look, we can in fact have women and women of color actually doing cool space shit. Isn't that great?
Well, I don't think, because like we know how monarchy works mainly, so I don't really think that matters. But I know what he's referring to, and I don't want to get fucking started on George R. R. Martin today. Damn it, Raph, what's the line from Monty Python, The Holy Grail, about the lady in the lake?
Oh, random wenches handing out swords is not a sound basis for government. Yeah,
Yes, that one. Tharnell's comment made me think of it. But speaking of, I need to get the not the Les Grossman. That's a character from Tropic Thunder. That would be a different book. Lev Grossman's The Bright Sword, or This Bright Sword. Sorry, my brain is not functioning right now.
Yeah, Thornell. Why is Aragon king? No one voted for him. That's not how kings work. Also, why does that's an really interesting thing. Is like I don't think there is ever any mention of actual money outside of the Shire in Middle Earth, right? Like wherever they go, like when they're hanging out in Minas Tirith, right? No one pays for anything in those worlds. Like the only people that use money seem to be hobbits in the Shire, because they're the petty bourgeoisie. They need that shit, I guess.
I mean, if you want some quality rants about Tolkien's politics, I mean, Michael Moorcock got you covered there. I'm surprised more people don't complain about Michael Moorcock and complain more about George R. R. Martin. Rather unfairly, I would say.
No, no. I think the problem is more people know about George R. R. Martin. That's like a big deal, right? Like the reach is just much larger. The other one is that whole line about Aragon's tax policy is just so blatantly stupid. And like to engage with Michael Moorcock's arguments in something like Epic Pooh, you actually have to read the thing and you have to think about it. I've seen some really, really fucking stupid takes on it where people don't understand it at all because they don't read it correctly or whatever. They don't read it deeply or don't think about it. Go like, oh no, he's attacking my dear Lord and Savior J.R.R. Tolkien, so he must be wrong. But like the George R. R. Martin tax one is just like, it's so surface level stupid. It's like, you don't talk about fucking tax policies in your books either, George, do you? Because of course you don't, because that stuff's boring unless you're Daniel Abraham and write the dagger and the coin, which I think is all about that.
Take
All
care,
right, see you,
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, stuff like that just annoys me. Well, conversation about the whole tax policy thing annoys me. It's like, who gives a shit? Then again, I'm also
They
I'm also kind of a world building nerd too. So I mean, I guess I'm being a little hypocritical there.
Yeah. No, they don't use money in the 1,000 acre wood. Also, it's only 100 acres, right? That's 100 acres. That's 100 acre wood. You don't get 1,000 acres of wood in England. There's not enough. There's not enough Britain to go around for that.
Yeah, but I don't think it really matters what his tax policy is, though. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
I mean, now I'm thinking about
Now,
the fucking economic
now
policies
wondering
in.
why anyone would do anything without money. That's something I'm curious about, and Star Trek never addresses that. So,
Well, they're post scarcity, and you only need money if there is scarcity, because otherwise, you can just get whatever you want. Because, you know,
yeah, how does that work though? You just give stuff out randomly to people?
yeah, sure. You give stuff to people if they need it.
Okay.
Like, why wouldn't you? If why wouldn't you do that? If there is no sort of like, if there's no downside, there's enough stuff going to go around. Why would you not give it to someone if they needed it, right?
Well, how would the
That's that.
economy work then?
You don't need a fucking economy based on scarcity if you have enough stuff of everything. That's the point.
Okay, I don't know.
That's the thing. If you have unlimited resources and unlimited, energy, which is one of the resources, that's the whole point behind it, right? Like, if you have that, what's the downside of just pressing a button and giving the person who needs something the thing they need? And that's difficult to think about. I grant you that, because we have, we live in a very specific society with very specific sort of like understandings of how the economy works.
I was about to say, Tharnald, you do know the Ferengi exist, right? That's their whole society's like point of law. Like, they literally worship the invisible hand. Like, he just been saying some really weird, out of pocket stuff today. It's usually John who says the weird, out of pocket stuff.
Yeah. But like, if you want to think more about that whole like money thing, like, I do highly recommend Debt the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, which talks about, money and where it came from and why it's bad.
Well, you were talking about, what I'm, okay. You literally just said economy is pseudoscience. And I'm like, what?
Yes, it is.
It is? Now Raph's getting in on this. What's going on here?
Like economy is a pseudoscience because it is not based on. I mean, obviously, it functions like a science and so forth, but it is not based on anything real. And in a lot of ways, like, you basically start with assumptions that you take on belief, right? Like, depending on which side of like an economic sort of like spectrum you fall on, it's like, and then you use a lot of like maths and very complex maths to basically prove stuff that still bases is based on your fundamental belief that the market exists and works in a specific way, which that underlying thing is never actually proven, because you can't prove that thing, right? Like, that's the point. And yeah, so it is very difficult. And I think that's the point. It's like, so it is a science, but it does.
How come there's fucking awards given out for it if it's a pseudoscience?
As long as there's enough people who are interested in the topic, there will be awards given out for it, right? Like, I mean, that's.
Oh, God. My brain's hurting.
I'm sorry about that.
My brain's hurting. I took a whole class about this. I was just wasting my time. No, I'm kidding.
don't know, but like
that was a that was a freaking hard class though. Holy shit.
yeah, lots of fucked up maths, I assume.
Oh my god, you wouldn't believe it.
Well, I mean, I did study computer science, so yes, I do believe it.
Yeah, it's like if you said computer science is a pseudoscience, I'd be like, what the fuck? My brain's.
I mean, I think it also depends on like what you mean by science. If you make like a difference between like the science, like science as like STEM versus say the humanities, for example, it's like economics is much closer to like the humanities. It just masquerades as an objective science by using lots of mathematics, and that's a trend that you see in like other more humanities places like social sciences, right?
It's more like philosophy than an actual science. Is that it?
Yeah, somewhere between philosophy and religion in a lot of ways, yes. But it does, as I said, like it does masquerade as a science. That's why they talk about laws and stuff. It's like, no, this shit is made up. But as long as enough people believe in one version of that, it kind of does function, right? Like more or less. Sometimes less, I guess.
Well, to be fair, I'm not saying everyone who's won an award for economics is like a great person, has been like great, but like, awards kind of mean legitimacy to a lot of people, even though a lot of them are really stupid half the time. Because Ori's right. There are some of those probably books from the Hugos that fucking suck.
I mean, like, but that's the point. It's like what you said there with the awards. I think that is once again that's important because yes, it gives legitimacy, but who does just a bunch of fucking dudes in Norway, right? Like that's the point. Like the Nobel Prize for economics is not handed out by the same people that give out the Nobel Prize for physics and medicine and stuff.
Fair enough, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's Joe just left, but I think Joe also has like a post scarcity society in the.
I think it feels very post scarcity adjacent from what I remember from reading the first one. I still need to as I like move to the next one. Yeah, I mean the thing is like Donald Trump won the peace prize, the FIFA peace prize. Does that make him a legitimate like peace person? I don't know.
Well, then again, Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize. So fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the Peace Prize is also once again handed out from a commission in Norway, and is thus not directly
Norway.
tied.
It's always Norway. Mac
no, like no, the rest, like the other ones are handed out by the Swedish Royal Academy. That's yeah. I don't know about football, but Ori, I don't get it. It's
I feel like they just hand out the Nobel Peace Prize to just literally anybody. You could be like a guy in the street and they'll give it to you.
No, not quite. I think the problem with the Nobel Peace Prize is that in a lot of times it's seen as like, hey, this is the kind of politics we think is good, and sometimes it's more like aspirational than anything else. Like when they handed one to Barack Obama, right? It's like he's not done anything at this point in his career, so we just hand it to him. So hopefully he will do peace shit now. It's like I don't know. I don't know if that works. Also, who gave you the right to decide what the proper policies are? I mean, obviously, Oslo University does have like one of the longest sort of like institutes for peace studies. That is a thing there.
I actually had to cover soccer or football, as they call it over in Europe, for my job because I do radio stuff for sports. It was very painful to sit through. I'll just say that.
Well, watching football, like American football, which is basically a combination of chess and rugby for pussies.
Yeah, no, I've seen some people from rugby. People do rugby, and it looks fucking crazy. Like they're not wearing pads or anything. They're just fucking running into each other, bro.
Yeah,
Crazy.
rugby's. Rugby is a whole other game in that regard.
Yeah, but no, I hate soccer. I just can't fucking watch it. It's just
Well, I mean, for the rest of the world, it's always like, why are you guys calling the thing that you're doing, where people are throwing around a ball with their hands, football? And the game where people are not allowed to use their hands, but only their foot to kick around like a pig's bladder, why are we calling that not football? You know? No, rugby is not exactly the same as football. It does have different rules. But the basic idea is, yeah, you have this egg-shaped, not really round ball that you can throw around, and everyone is basically wrestling in the mud all the time. That's what I've learned from having a flatmate who was playing rugby. It's an excuse to for grown-ass people to wrestle in the mud and afterwards get very, very drunk. Which,
look.
good for
If
them.
you love soccer / football, God bless you. I'm really glad you enjoy it. I don't know how you do it. I would rather fucking. I would rather watch paint dry than watching soccer. Actually, don't hold me to that. Yeah. Wearing paint or watching paint dry doesn't sound like a fun activity either.
I like in a lot of ways, it's sports is interesting if you're actively partaking in it. Like if you play soccer or like if you play football or basketball or whatever else with your friends, then watching other people do it is interesting because you have an understanding of what's going on. That is, so I get that part, but like when it comes to sports that I have like no experience in, and I guess like the part with like football in particular is just like it's something that everyone kind of does as kids because you just need something that rolls and you can kick it around. That's very simple to do, and then the rest kind of comes from that in one way or another. And there is certainly that sort of like impulse. You see something lying on the ground that looks like you can get away with kicking it somewhere, people will kick that thing. But Britton, it's a quarter to midnight here, and as I said, like I've maybe slept like 3 hours last night. I should probably slowly sign off and leave you.
Yeah,
to
I was probably going to stop around 5, or 5 my time, so around about like 12 minutes. But if you need to leave and get sleep, that's fine. But I was probably gonna cut it down anyway.
Yeah, that's my plan. It's like I'll probably just like slowly leave because it is late.
Hello, Chadia, how you doing? We've been talking about all the usual things, like fantasy.
Right the minute I say I want to leave, goes up. Now I can't leave.
It's about science fiction and fantasy and politics and all that fun stuff we like to talk about on this show.
Well, as I just said, Chadia, I'm very, very tired because I spent the last night in trains and on train stations in the wonderful towns of Stuttgart and Frankfurt, and well, also Göppingen, which I was at a metal concert in a former U.S. Army chapel because there's like a former Army barracks stuff from post World War II when lots of U.S. troops were stationed in that area, and someone decided that it would be a really good idea to take that army chapel and turn it into like a heavy metal club, which makes sense, I guess. At least you get like good acoustics in there.
She asked if you got your card back. what that
Nope, I did not get my card back. I lost that last week on my way back to a concert from the concert, where I also broke my stick again, which a whole other adventure. Um, but I got it blocked, and I've ordered a new one. I'll get a new card from my bank at some point in the future. We'll see how that goes. So for now, I am sort of, I can get to the bank. If I go to the bank directly and show my passport, my ID card, then I can get like money from there. So if I need cash, and that's, I guess, how I'll survive the next week until I get the new card. We'll see. It's just gonna stay interesting in that regard.
Sounds like you had a time there, ref.
Yeah. No, the last week I went to a concert on Easter Tuesday, and yeah, someone at Frankfurt main station stumbled over my stick and snapped it in half. So
Oh no.
yeah, that's really really bad, because I'm like certain. Then someone from like DB, like Deutsche Bahn security, gave me tape from their first aid kit that I could use to tape together the stick part. That's how I made it to the concert, and then I got some better tape from the venue there to get my way back to Marburg. And I did buy beer at like shortly after midnight in Frankfurt. That's the last thing I did pay with that card, and then probably fell out of my pocket or something, because life. Also, bye, Ida.
Huh.
And so, Chad, yeah, yes, I have a new stick, but what actually happened is that sticks unfortunately break from time to time. It's like I had another one that was already broken. I could just take out the parts, the two parts that were where the connection thing was snapped from my stick, and replace it with two parts from like an older stick. So I have a backup now. So that is good. Also, the new one that I have has a pink grip, because I could select between a blue one and a pink one, and I decided to go with the obvious choice there. No, I can't get around a train station without a stick. That is just not possible. So yeah. I don't necessarily have like preferences for pink or blue. I'm just like, just because you assume that as a dude I'll go for the blue one, I'm like, nah, fuck you. I'm taking the pink one. Which is why I have a pink Coca-Cola glass that even glows in the dark for reasons. But yeah. Anyway, what are you reading, Chadia? Because I remember you were unsure what to read, and my glowing references for the new David Harvey books did not seem to impress you much, because you were not interested in the falling rate of profit. Also, I wish Philip Chase would make a video on how much money he made with his Edan books, and he could call it the profit of Edan, and I would really love that. Well, at the end of the day, as long as you like it, that's like the thing that counts there, Chadia, right? Oh, well, the fall of Hyperion. Well, hey, Bax, how you doing? No, fall of Hyperion is still I don't know. It's not the worst thing that Dan Simmons has ever written, but I mean, you made it through Hyperion, so it kind of makes sense that you want the story to sort of like end. So yeah, I do get that one. I would not recommend moving, like, depending on like how you feel about the Fall of Hyperion. I would not necessarily recommend moving on to Endymion and Rise of Endymion, because those are definitely a step down from Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion. Even Fall of Hyperion is not as, I think, interesting, structurally interesting as Hyperion itself. And after that, yeah, I don't know. But you'll get a lot of like jerking off about how cool John Keats was, because we need to stay pretentious, obviously. All right, now my beer is empty.
Well, I was probably going to get off. So, yeah. This was fun.
It was, yeah.
I hope everyone had a good time and hung out for a while, because that's always a good thing. Hold on, I'm looking at something here. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raph, as always, for coming on here, and thank you for everyone who came on and commented for a while.
Yeah.
Always enjoy hanging out.
Exactly.
But yes, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day / evening / wherever you guys are at. And Raph, hopefully you rest well, my friend.
No.
Definitely need it from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I do need sleep. That is for sure.
All right, take care, everyone.
Right, see you. Yeah, see you guys.